Hi guys, it's Kiarko here, back with another speed build. This is a speed build of a serial killer's hunting lodge, which is kind of morbid, to be honest, and it's kind of dark and not really in the stream of what I usually do for my builds, but I just kind of wanted to do something a little bit different, and I did have a lot of fun with this one, just coming up with kind of honestly sick, morbid ideas about what kind of serial killer this guy is. But yeah, so let's get into it. Don't worry, there's nothing like graphic or gruesome in this build. It's just kind of like almost like a set idea for like a true crime film or something like that. I actually, to be honest, I'm not super into true crime at the moment, but I did have like a true crime phase when I was younger, where, I loved, reading about, serial killers and watching, like CSI and all those true crime kind of things. So that's my experience with true crime. I know it's very popular on the internet. I know a lot of people have an interest in it, and if you're someone who is a huge true crime fan, let me know. But as I am going through this, just to be clear, this is not based on any real situation, any real serial killer, any real life story. This is just my interpretation of a serial killer story from like a movie or a TV show or something like that. This is actually sort of loosely inspired by a specific serial killer from Hannibal, the TV show. If any of you have ever seen, I've only seen like the first 2 seasons, but in the first season there's a character called Garrett Jacob Hobbs, I believe is his name, and he is a serial killer, and he has this hunting cabin where he has murdered people. And in that cabin, he has this like long room hallway that has all these like deer heads on the wall, like mounted deer heads. And they have all these antlers and stuff. And I always thought that visual was like super striking, and I kind of wanted to recreate that a little bit here. And I tried to, and I kind of failed, but I do end up using some like mounted animal heads on the wall, which is an aesthetic I'm not in real life not a fan of, but in this game I think it's very interesting, like in in stories and sets and stuff. I always thought that aesthetic was very, very interesting. I was actually just watching the Grand Budapest Hotel, the Wes Anderson film, and there's a scene when they walk into this big like evil this really mean family's home, and they have like this wall of like animal heads on the wall, and I thought it was so striking visually, as such a good way to tell instantly that these characters are bad people, and I was like, wow, I should use that in a build. So you'll see in this build there are some animal heads on the wall. So this is a hunting cabin is what I imagine, so it's kind of like his place where this killer would come up and it's not just for people. It's also, he probably also, is a hunter for, animals and stuff like that, because it's out in the middle of the woods here. I didn't want to, like, think too deeply about this, because it would get into some kind of, gruesome, gory, morbid detail, and I didn't really want to think about that. So it's kind of loose in terms of, the details of this serial killer, but, this is just kind of generally inspired. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoy this build. If you don't, it's fine. Please let me know, and I'll just avoid doing morbid builds like this again in the future, but it was a lot of fun. I suggest watching Hannibal if you're into that kind of stuff, into dark, true crime, that kind of stuff. The show was pretty good, at least what I saw of it. I don't know about anything past season 2, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. There's some pretty graphic, gory violence and gore, so definitely only check it out if that's your thing. You see that big old bag I put in the trunk of his car? Yeah, there's probably a person in there is what I imagined. But as you can see, I'm just putting together his porch here. I did something kind of gross where I put like some meat on that table that he was cutting apart. I ended up deleting that because it was like grossing me out too much, like the thought that that was like a person, and just kind of freaked me out. So I ended up deleting that. But the rest of this build is pretty straightforward. It's just like a bunch of creepy like hints at like serial killer shit, but it's not, again, there's no like real gore or anything like that, so do not worry. I'm not gonna show you guys someone like freaking dismembered and mutilated in this guy's lodge. That'd be way too much for this channel, and I'm not down to build that. But this was fun in terms of just putting the story and the set together. As you can see, I'm bringing out my deer heads now. That's the hallway where I kind of wanted to do that thing that was in Hannibal with like all the antlers on the wall, but it just wasn't working out the way I was doing it. So instead I just created this like morbid hunter's animal head wall over here in the main living room area, and as you can see I put some boar's heads on the side too. It's just the aesthetic of it tells a lot about the character, and that's why I love that aesthetic when it's used in movies and TV shows. Whenever people put animal heads on the wall, it's just a really good way to indicate character and tone and vibe. Like I really like it for those purposes. But again, in real life, this is probably not something I would ever do. But here I'm putting in, just trying to figure out the layout of this living room. It took me a second to kind of figure out the tone and the vibe. I do end up changing out that carpet. Yep, it wasn't the right fit. I changed it to, let's see, this one, I believe, which I thought was a little bit more of the vibe. And I do end up changing the color of the fireplace, but I definitely knew that there had to be a fireplace in this build because it's like a hunting lodge, right? So it kind of, like, fireplaces have like that lodgy feel. I don't know. But I'm trying to put in hints here and there that this guy's a little bit off his rocker. Like there's that bust of that woman on top of the fireplace, like perfectly center under the deer heads. I don't know, maybe that's like, I don't know, like his lost love or whatever the heck that's, you know, motivating him. Like in Hannibal for Garrett Jacob Hobbs, it was his daughter that drove him to, well, it wasn't her fault. I'm just saying that he was driven by his sick obsession with his daughter to be a serial killer. So maybe that bust is of someone who is really driving this guy to be kind of crazy. And this, I imagine, is probably like a gun locker because I imagine that's where you would keep weapons for a hunting lodge, right? Because they used like hunting guns and stuff. I don't know. This is really not the type of build I usually do, but again, you know, I just want to try something new, and I want to know how you guys would feel about a build like this. Gonna put in a barrel. What's in the barrel? I don't know. Think about the history of you know, oil barrels and serial killers. You'll probably catch on really fast to what's in the barrel. I'm just putting in, let's see, more little things on the wall. I'm gonna put in these old creepy pictures that are maybe like of the property like a long time ago. Scratch marks on the wall, self-explanatory. I'm gonna put together the kitchen now. One thing about this build I didn't realize until after I was done with the build, there's no bathroom. So basically when I was building this, I had the idea that there would be like a separate outhouse. And then honestly, I just finished the build and I totally forgot, so there's no outhouse. So maybe this guy just, you know, uses the woods, you know? It's nature's toilet, I guess. But, so I don't want to feel sorry for this guy, but I didn't give him a bathroom, so uh-oh. Knives on the wall, self-explanatory. Skull, self-explanatory. I'm just gonna put in some eerie mud tracks. I don't know why I thought the mud tracks were eerie, but they kind of had like a creepy vibe to me, at least, so I put in mud tracks. And here I'm just stocking this shelf on the right here, this metal shelf, just putting in like anything, you know, supplies, stuff that you would have in a hunting lodge cabin. I mean, I should say, I have never been in a hunting lodge cabin thing ever in my life. This is totally based off of movies and TV and just absolute fiction and lore, so I'm sorry if there's any inaccuracies here. But to be honest, I would rather not be accurate to real serial killer, you know, lore, so, you know, just use your imagination. This is fun for like a film, you know, like a psychological thriller film about a serial killer and the police are hunting him down, and this is like the set of his home. That's kind of the vibe I was going for. But yeah, anyways, this is his desk. He's got some VCRs. What's on the VCRs? I don't know, probably some creepy shit, right? But gonna put in, let's see, you know, some newspapers that are dirty for some reason. Gonna put another boar's head on the wall over here. This is where I was trying again to do the whole antler wall thing. I really wanted to make this work. As you can see, I'm trying to make it seem, you know, cool. It's just, it wasn't working. It had something to do with all the heads being the same, so it just kind of looked very repetitive and weird, whereas in the show it looked really cool because all the antlers were different, so I just didn't have the right custom content to execute it. But the idea was a good idea, I think. I think that would have ended up pretty cool, but it just ends up being a bear head, which is also pretty scary. If you walk right through that door, there's like a growling bear head in front of you. I feel like that'd probably freak you out a little bit. At least it'd freak me out. Gave him a bed just so he has a place to crash, you know, because if he's up here hunting or camping or whatever the heck, he probably just needs a bed to sleep on. I'm gonna put some, you know, obsessive posters and notes and things on the wall and photos he took and people he's stalking and just, you know, creepy serial killer stuff. And then I'm gonna put in, you know, newspaper clippings of like, oh, like, the killer's at it again, you know, like he clips out, you know, newspaper stories of when they report about him. Creepy little fish paintings on the wall, because I thought those were creepy paintings. And we're almost about done with this build. I think that is it. Yeah, just mess around with the roof for a sec, and that is about it, I believe. I'm just clearing out the terrain. And yeah, that is the build. Please let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Yeah, are you guys true crime fans? Do you like any like true crime shows? Do you watch like CSI or NCIS or you know, whatever other string of letters I could put together that's a true crime show? Or if you watch Hannibal, let me know if you feel like this is kind of like, if you see what I was going for here with like the Garrett Jacob Hobbs vibe, because that's definitely like a really huge source of inspiration for this build. So again, let me know what you think. It's a different kind of build than I usually do, a little bit more morbid, but you know, it was still fun. Still very TV show, film set-esque, I guess. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.